So I've been filming in 60 frames per second for weddings for the last 5-ish years exclusively, and it's worked well for the most part. I mean, couples are happy, so that's really the most important thing, right? But there has been a shift lately in how I feel about my work and really the outcome that I'm looking to achieve. And if I keep filming in 60 frames per second, I don't think that I will be able to truly achieve that outcome. So today, let's unpack why I am simply done filming in 60 frames per second. What's up everybody, Jared with an I here. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, this channel is all about giving you the confidence to lean into a full-time career as a wedding filmmaker. So if you're into that sort of thing, it would mean so much if you consider liking and subscribing. So I did a video a few months back about whether or not slow motion was dying in wedding films. And I really analyzed the difference between 24, 60 frames per second, which one should you consider, and all of those thoughts still hold true. Slow motion certainly isn't dead, but I think we are gravitating more towards a different feeling when it comes to how we are creating wedding films. And it's not overly used slow motion, it's more real and authentic moments. Slow motion in filmmaking is a useful and stylistic technique that can really help elevate the emotional impact, create that drama, and provide insurance for us filmmakers when we miss those pivotal seconds of a very emotional moment, and we need to kind of preserve the shelf life of that moment by extending that frame in our edit. And then of course, when you're dealing with erratic photographers who jump from moment to moment in a matter of seconds.
Hours, there we go, 1, 2, 3. And then go ahead and look right here and just smile right here, beautiful.
Then look towards like this tree or something over here, yeah. Perfect. Awesome!
While you're in that pose, I just want you to like...
But really one of the reasons why I want to really move away from 60 frames per second really isn't about slow motion at all. It's really just about the feeling that I'm looking to convey and how I feel that 60 frames per second really compromises the cinematic look and feeling. You know, wedding films to me should be crafted in a way that is genuine and reflective of truth. I'm a huge advocate for realism in wedding films, and the more slow motion I see or the more high frame rates that I see, the less real that it feels. And that, of course, is purely subjective, but I don't know, to me, maybe I'm just becoming desensitized from this frame rate altogether because I've used it so much and because I've just been experimenting with 24 frames per second in general. And the wedding that I'm showing you guys on screen here was filmed entirely in 24 frames per second. And to me, there's just a magic to it. Because of the natural motion blur that closely mimics the human eye's perception of real life, and 24 frames per second just has a romantic texture that feels synonymous with cinematic storytelling. But the truth is, people associate 24 frames per second with emotional story-driven content because that's just what we're familiar with. That's what we see in the movies. And filming in 60 frames per second can unintentionally just take you out of that emotion. It can really make your film feel less like an artistic production and more like a raw home video. Now, raw home videos are great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I think that every couple that you work with should still receive a raw home video edit outside of the creative edit that you provide for them because it is, you know, their life, right? And having that content is super beneficial. But this isn't about the raw home videos. This is about your creative story-driven work. But I think for me, it just kind of boils down to more of this emotional disconnect and how I'm just kind of tired of treating the wedding day using 60 frames per second as an insurance policy over just being intentional with the story that I want to create and tell and the feeling that I want to impart. Another practical implication of filming in 60 versus 24 all day is it's going to eat away at your SD cards a lot quicker. It's going to take up a lot more space in your archive drives and in your process and even your battery life. Filming in 60 all day versus 24, I noticed that 24 I was able to get a little bit more runtime versus with 60, and it makes sense because you're having to compensate for a lot more data when you're filming in 60 versus 24. So there's that to consider as well. And I think for me, it's just when it comes to the workflow side of things is I do want more of a minimal workflow, something that just helps alleviate some of the stressors that come with just worrying about storage costs and archiving and all of those things, in addition to the technical and creative aspects. But forgetting about my storage woes and 60 frames per second for a second, let's talk about motion VFX. If you're looking to expand your creative toolkit, whether you are a content creator or a filmmaker, Motion VFX Cine InDesign Studio can help elevate the realm of possibilities with their top-notch motion design elements and plugins like M Movements, M Reels, Captions AI, which are just a few of my favorites. The best part is everything is built into Final Cut Pro X to provide a seamless workflow for your next project. Simply click the extension above, drag and drop your graphic, and keep editing. So if you're interested, head over to Motion VFX via the link down in the description and get 30% off on Cine InDesign Studio right now during their Black Friday deals. But all right, now that that's out of the way, back to my therapy session on why I'm getting rid of 60 frames per second. I will say it's not gonna be easy to quit cold turkey, because the truth is there's more room for error. There's more awareness that you need to have. There's more patience. There's more communication that you need to have with the photographer and anyone else involved throughout the day. In essence, there's a lot more that could go wrong than right. But I do think that the pros far outweigh the cons. Because if I want my films to feel stronger emotionally and aesthetically, then filming in 24 frames per second is really the way that I've noticed I can achieve that. And because I've been experimenting, I think that this is really the next step forward in how I can really create the feeling that I'm looking to achieve. But if you want to film in 60 or 120 or 30, whatever frame rate that fits your style and your workflow best, then by all means, keep doing what works for you, because there's really no one-size-fits-all solution. And don't take what I'm saying as gospel truth. This is just one filmmaker who's talking to several other filmmakers about what he thinks is gonna be best for him and his process. And if I'm being honest, realistically, I'll probably still very strategically switch between 24 and 60, which I think is probably what we should all do, instead of just relying on one frame rate to get us from the start of the day to the end of the day. It's just being intentional and strategic in how we are applying these different frame rates and techniques to create that feeling. I think ultimately we're just trying to find the right balance for us, and especially for me. And using 24 and 60 makes a lot of sense, instead of just using 24 and then running into issues later and feeling very bad about yourself that why didn't you just switch to 60 in this moment? You could have really enhanced your film, or this completely ruined your film because you filmed in just one frame rate versus the other. I think ultimately it's just about delivering a balanced film. And however you go about achieving that balance is your prerogative. Is your prerogative. And however you go about delivering that balance is your prerogative.
Crushed it.
So I guess I'm not 100% completely done with filming in 60 frames per second. It's more so me just being a little bit more selective and intentional with my process. So thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, valuable, insightful, or just a complete waste of your time, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear from you either way. So until next time, keep creating and telling beautiful stories. Peace.